Moderator, Chair of Council, colleagues amongst the Senior Common Room and staff, Mrs McCackey, distinguished guests and all members of the Ormond community. Thank you for the warmth and generosity of your welcome. For both Catherine and I are honoured to be back in a community that gave us so much as students. But tonight I want to talk about the task of our time and what kind of community we need to be to meet that task. Our task, the task of this generation, is to offer the leadership that will navigate civilization through one of its toughest times. For we live at the start of a century that humanity may not see the end of. Lord Rees, Britain's Astronomer Royal and President of the Royal Society, has wagered that humanity only has a 50% chance of seeing the next century. For a great many other species, the odds are far lower than that. Our era is being called the Anthropocene because our impact on the planet is so great that the mass extinctions we are causing and the changes in the Earth's climate will be the most distinctive feature of the geological era of our age. The bookmakers of history are laying odds because our world is under inexorable pressure. By mid-century, our population will expand from 6 to somewhere between 8 and 10 billion people. And global economic activity in today's dollars will rise from $50 trillion to $400 trillion. That's an awful lot of consumption. The consequences of that pressure are grave and they are clear. Our planet will warm. We have already seen what that could mean here in Victoria. Our oceans will die. Already 90% of the large fish of our world are dead. Our water will run dry. By 2025, 40% of the world's population will suffer water shortages. Our soils will be lost. 90% of US farmland is losing soil 17 times faster than it is being replaced. And our co-inhabitants of the planet will die. At current rates, half of all species on the planet will be dead by the end of the century, and most of the great mammals, the lions, the tigers and the polar bears, will only live in stories. This list already reads like a eulogy for our environment. What makes the task of our time so grave is that our human ecology is as challenged as the natural world. For again, if we do not quickly switch the train tracks of history, they will deliver us to a world where 50% of the population live in slums by mid-century and our urban environment is dominated by hard-to-live-in megacities. The geological rifts of religion and ethnicity will erupt in volcanoes of violence such as we already are becoming familiar with. And billions, especially in Africa, will live short lives in a world of affluence. What marks these challenges is that they are complex and global. They are also wicked challenges because they change as we work on them. And they will require a transformation of attitudes and beliefs if we are to solve them. Furthermore, they are problems with tipping points, where small change can produce the collapse of a system. And we have seen this in the rapid death of marine environments, and we are seeing it now, today, in the collapse of the global economy. It is perhaps an event that serves as a warning to the type of global systemic collapses that will characterize this century unless we act. And we can act to create a destiny that is far grander than to become a notable piece of fossil strata. For this is also humanity's greatest age of technological and human capacity. But what is required are leaders who will harness that potential to turn the tide of history. It will require a new generation of leaders in every field. Engineers to create the technologies of a low-carbon, low-water world. Business leaders with the entrepreneurial mind to commercialise new technologies and to reinvent the way we do business. agricultural scientists to create the next green revolution where water and soil is used sustainably and feeds nearly twice as many people without destroying any further habitat. Their challenge is great. Lawyers to design new regimes to regulate the global commons. Architects and urban planners to transform our cities so that they are not just sustainable but delightful, and to house the burgeoning population of the world in acceptable conditions. And leaders across the humanities to help us find a global ethic to unite a divided world and a philosophy of life based on meaning, not consumption. And economists to reinvent economics to create a sustainable world where well-being counts as wealth. And doctors and medical researchers to solve the diseases of the global poor, like malaria and AIDS, that constrain the human development of whole nations. The task of our time, Ormond's task, is to create those leaders. From this hall have gone generations who have made a difference in the world. We now need a generation of leaders who will make a different world. To meet this task, we need to be a community known as a learning community and a values-based community. Together, these need to be our guiding ideals. To be a learning community, we need to be committed not just to academic excellence, but also to a wider curriculum. We need a wider curriculum because solving global challenges requires more than just book knowledge and analytic intelligence, although it certainly requires those, and to a very high standard. The tasks of our time require wise judgment from the young, high levels of emotional and social intelligence from those who prefer the other side of their brain. It requires clear moral thinking and perhaps most of all an unshakable belief in the ability to make a difference. That's why, as a framework for learning at Ormond, we are embracing UNESCO's 4 pillars for a 21st century education. And those 4 pillars say that education is about learning to know, learning to live with, learning to be, and learning to do. A college is uniquely suited to provide just this type of education in a way that the university alone cannot. So this year will be the first year of expanding what it means to receive an Ormond education. I hope in the future people leave and they don't say I had a Melbourne University education, but they say I had an Ormond education. And already in O Week we have spent a full day with world-class facilitators learning about how to learn to be and learn to live with. And the next day people helped out and participated in community service activities or learnt about the social challenges or the Aboriginal heritage of this city. O Week has been different, but I think no less fun. It has been an expansion of our educational possibilities, not a narrowing of them. And beyond that, we are creating contexts for people to get hands-on experience in tackling tough challenges. Our Indigenous program, led by Jane Fremantle, is expanding, and we have formed a partnership with Teach for Australia to create opportunities to work on the frontier of educational disadvantage. And our sports leaders will be invited to work with one of the nation's leading coaches to build their leadership skills. And these are just the very first steps. We need to be not just a learning community, but also a values-based community. A community founded on principles, not rules. A community where we ask what is right, not what is permitted. A community where we ask, what can I give, rather than what do I get? A community where we ask, what do I require of myself, not what do those in authority require of me? A community where we have the courage to lead, not to follow. And we can be a values-based community because it is not buildings, our size or our successes, as impressive as those all are, but our values that are Ormond's greatest strength. They create our identity, they form our community, they bind our generations together. What makes these values so strong is that they are deeply rooted in our past, and yet they are sure guides to our future. They are, in the truest sense, et nova et vetra. They are also the values of leaders, and they are the values the world needs. A world with leaders of integrity, committed to creating diversity and true community, while preserving the natural and human heritage of the planet, would be a world with a chance. Now, creating a community that will form such leaders, a learning community and a values-based community, is a common task. It is not a task that belongs to me or to the staff or the SCR, but to us all. We have been a fair weather generation, but now the storm is breaking, and we are called on to create a college so that when the world looks back and reflects on its history, it will say the men and women of Ormond made a disproportionate difference for the good. I look forward to joining you all in that task. Thank you.